What a dangerous start to this week's AEW Dynamite. Don't really know what that means, but Jay White is done. Also, hello my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs, the only wrestling review show you need with I, Simon Miller, who is not only a wrestling reviewer, content creator, but also a professional wrestler himself. And that just means that my opinions count for more than anybody else's. That's not true, but we are living in the world of hyperbole, so I am going to take these statements and throw them right into your face. However, we did just have the go-home Dynamite before Dynasty, which is happening this weekend. So was it good, or did it suck? Let's up those downs. But yes, as the Death Riders were making their way to the ring, the commentators told us, man, we have some super duper whooper sad news. Jay White got attacked by these Riders of Death, and now he is out of the Owen Hart Cup. Right, this does tie into a real life injury that Jay White has suffered, so screw all the wrestling stuff, and I hope he is doing okay. And ultimately, this is very upsetting. It kind of felt like he was about to do something big, maybe even go on a heel turn, but what you gonna do? At least All Elite Wrestling did address it on TV. Sometimes you could just go, well, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. So you can't really get mad about this. And if you are, well, you're just being a grifter. Humans get hurt, man. You do what you gotta do. Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir still had a reason to be walking to the squared circle, though. And that's because they were about to have an intergender tag team match against Swerve, Strickland and Willow Nightingale. This was also super duper fun because it was tornado rules, so everyone was just smacking everybody else, and Marina and Willow were going at it, and Swerve and Moxley were going at it, when of course they produced a table, because it is 2025, how can you have a wrestling match without some wood? Moxley then flipped off the crowd, which was dumb, because Swerve was like, well, I'm going to use that to drop kick you. Although Jonathan then kind of grabbed Strickland, and he threw him into the crowd. Before that, he also chaired him as well, so things were not going well. When Marina and Jonathan went over to Willow, so Nightingale was like, I'm not scared of you. And she slapped Mox. Eventually, Swerve Strickland was back too, and it looked like he was going to hit big pressure onto Marina. Honestly, I think Shafir is a little bit crazy. Swerve didn't do it, but the whole time she was going, do it, you should just do it. Which is like when somebody wants to feed me pizza. Nightingale then decided that she'd have enough of this, but actually it turned out terribly for her, because she did get through the table, and of course, everybody cheered. And when you think about it, when you do have a table in 2025, well, it's the most over inanimate object there is. It then really made me laugh because the next thing Jonathan Moxley did was rake Swerve's back. I was like, oh man, yeah, you're really being devious. Although then there was a Tower of Doom spot that basically Willow Nightingale did, but this poor Swerve Strickland, he got murked again. It really did work though, because it just meant that Willow kept fighting by herself until Swerve kept zooming back into frame. Again, this was just entertaining, man. And why do we watch wrestling? To be entertained. Shafir then went for the triangle, but Willow was actually able to reverse that into the powerbomb when we got our big moment, because it looked like Strickland had warmed up his foot and he was going to hit the house call onto Jon Moxley when it was Marina that pushed her best buddy out the way, meaning Strickland hit her instead. And that massive round of applause, the timing of that was spot on. Willow then kind of used that surprise to look Jon Moxley through a table, although the camera kind of missed that, so maybe it didn't happen. When she turned her attentions to Marina, she hit the Dr. Bomb, and damn it, she got the 1, 2, 3. So this was absolutely the right move, because of course Willow Nightingale needs more victories. Or then it went super duper whooper bad, because Jon Moxley was like, no one beats one of my teams, and he laid out Willow Nightingale with the paradigm shift. Now Swerve tried to help, but by this point the Death Riders had run away. We are planting some seeds. This was going to turn into an angle that did run throughout the entire episode of Dynamite 2. So this did the job, and honestly, AEW should do more matches like this. It was so damn easy to watch. When there was a sign in the crowd that said, Simon, you should give this an up. Damn it, I am your humble master, which sounds very weird. But honestly, it made me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. The fact that you guys are still doing this blows my brain, but you are getting an up. Thank you for making my day, and I hope you had a good time. Renee Paquette was then interviewing FTR, and referee Paul Turner was there as well, because Dax Harbour was like, listen man, really sorry I put my hands on you on Collision, but don't worry, I went to Tony Khan and I said, I understand I have been fined $10,000, but I want to put it right in Paul's pocket. It's like, I'm not entirely sure that's how it works. But it did make Dax come across like a super duper whooper good guy. Although, even though this was a great bit, I do have to give it a down. This kind of goes across all wrestling companies. Sometimes you can attack a referee and no one cares. And here, you just had a little bit of emotional outrage. Somebody got a $10,000 fine. I don't care what the rules are, but we've got to come up with one and stick to it. Howard then talked about the fact he wants Paul to have a great time with his family, and he apologized to Cash Wheeler, and everything is going to be okay because they shall march into Dynasty and they shall win the Trios Championships. This is when he tried to give his buddy a hug, and Cash was like, no, listen, man, we are going to win those belts, but when that pay-per-view is done, we're going to need a chat. Dun, dun, dun. Now, if I were going to guess, it's probably Cash going, listen, you are still my bro, and what we should do is go heel on Adam Copeland's ass. Shouldn't have said it that way. Although you could do it the other way around, and then Adam Copeland could join Christian. But once again, I am just fantasy booking. But I love this FTR angle. Like, I actually want to see where it's going to go. And it's made the match at the pay-per-view twice as interesting. And I did my maths. That is a good thing. Up. When we actually got the brackets for the Owen Hart Cup tournament, and I'm a huge fan of this, but in the past, sometimes AEW has just left you guessing. But it does mean we're going to get Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight, who is replacing the injured Jay White, Brody King versus Takeshita, Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher, and Hangman Adam Page versus a wild card. We also got the women's side, and it is going to be Jamie Hayter versus Billy Starks, Thunder Rosa versus Chris Statlander, Julia Hart versus Mercedes, and Harley Cameron versus Athena. If you were going to guess, I think you could work the finals of the women's brackets out. Now I'm going out on a whim here, but I did check my notes. I thought Maxwell Jacob Friedman said, I shall definitely enter the Owen Hart Cup this year. And, well, he's not in it. Now, he could be the wild card, but if he did say these words, and again, I'm pretty sure he did, then that wouldn't make any sense, because you can't say you're in it and then be a bit of a surprise. So listen, I'm going to give it a down. If I am wrong, you can just get mad at me. I mean, look at me. I'm dressed like the sun today. I don't deserve anything. But I just think it is those little things you need to smooth out, a bit like my bald head, even though the grand scheme of things doesn't actually matter. When we had a story continuing, because it was Toni Storm versus Penelope Ford, because of course Penelope is the best friend of Megan Bayne, and those two have been running wild. Ford really is a hidden gem within AEW too, and as for Toni Storm, somehow each and every single week, she just becomes a bigger star. She kicked things off here instantly too because she did hit a fisherman suplex when Ford came back with the double knees. And then because she is a wrestler, she posed. I don't know why they do this, they're just obsessed with the D-pad. Penelope then landed her springboard elbow and went for her patented lick, I suppose, which is when Toni Storm bit her tongue. I don't think I've ever seen this before, and I don't really know what's happening right now. The commentators, they had a conniption. Sweet cheek music followed, but they only got a 1-2-ooh, and then we were doing moonsaults to the outside. So honestly, this was just a really good match. No matter what the plan is going forward for Penelope Ford, well, just make sure you do something with her. Ford then did miss a big kick, so Storm was able to bust out the German suplex, and yes, sure, here it went a little bit wibbly-wobbly, but they're just human beings, man. You got to give them some leeway, but eventually Toni was able to get Storm 0, uno, dos, tres. This makes all the sense in the world too, because she does have a title match coming, and given that it was Megan Bayne, she walked to the ring, and they looked at each other. It's just what wrestlers do when they are mad. And of course, Toni will win at the pay-per-view, but in terms of trying to make Megan Bayne feel like a threat, well, this is job done. Give it enough. Renee Paquette then wanted to know if Willow Nightingale was dead, and Swerve was like, no, but she is a big, brave soldier. I shouldn't have laughed, but I did a little bit. It made her sound like a Cub Scout. Strickland also knows that Moxley only did this because he was aware that Nightingale has had neck issues, which is why he's gonna hunt him down tonight. Gonna try and snap him in two. Renee sold this great as well, as Swerve came across like an absolute loon when he sat back down next to Willow Nightingale, who was being attended to by the doctor. The idea of this was that she could be very seriously hurt, almost like she's gonna have a stipulation match with Marina Shafir. When it was time to figure out what is going on with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate, I do have to say, the story makes me very intrigued. Now, it was just MVP and Bobby Lashley this week because Shelton Benjamin got stuck somewhere because of the crazy weather, so I hope he's doing all right. And before they could say a word, they got interrupted by Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Now, he made sure to say that MVP looked great, and he called Bobby Lashley Bob. And he's like, listen, dude, we all know that you have gone around the houses and having a great career, but you disrespected me last week. And if you want to do anything here in AEW, well, this company is built on my shoulders. That's also why he does have the power to make sure the Hurt Syndicate hold the AEW tag team titles forever. But that's when you can scratch my back and I can scratch yours, because I'll go win the world title and you can do the same for me. So imagine that. It could be 22-47 and they would still be the champs. And someone online would still be complaining, although by that point you're probably justified. So it just goes to show that MJF understands that being part of this group is good for business. And he knows that Bobby Lashley knows that too. just needs to catch his brain up to speed. That was a poor choice of words because he said he needs this, which when Lashley got the microphone and basically went, no I don't, but I will kill you. I mean, the only reason he isn't dead is because Bobby does respect MVP so much. So here's the deal, Mr. Maxwell. If you do indeed want to enter our regiment, you're gonna have to go and prove yourself. Now, obviously Friedman took exception to this, so he did leave the ring. Although like a true sports entertainer, he looked back inquisitively when all of a sudden the learning tree were here, because of course they want to win the AEW tag titles. Before we get to that though, we shall draw a line under this because yes, I don't actually know what MJF is going to do here. Like the nerd part of me says MJF versus Bobby Lashley is the direction you want to go, because I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would see that. But if they did help each other, well maybe that's even better. So I don't know where this came from. I don't know who wrote this down on a piece of paper, but it is good storyline stuff. When the learning tree wrecked some people, I can't even tell you who they were. I mean, that was the joke, we never identified them. Big Bill did throw one at the feet of Bobby Lashley, who was watching on, which is when Brian Keith ran in. He kneed the other one in the face when Billy Boy gave him a big choke slam. This honestly can't have lasted more than 24 seconds. Now the Hurt Syndicate applauded this in the most patronizing way possible, which is when the big old Redwood got the microphone and said, we want to challenge you for those titles at Dynasty. Now, Umvup was going to say something, but Bob was like, nah, we don't need to do it. And obviously that does kind of tie into last week when MVP verbally wrecked these guys. So I'm not 100% sure in which direction this is going. I hope the learning tree is competitive. I am not confident. Now, do not forget that it was meant to be the murder machines in this position, but Brian Cage got injured. So yeah, I hope this isn't just a make good or a man, we got to do something. But in terms of establishing challenges, you do have to give it an up. I'm a little bit scared of this one, which is dumb. I'm a grown-ass man. Renee Paquette was then talking to Mercedes Moné because she is entering the Owen Hart Cup, although before then, she has to be in a tag team match on Collision. And that's right, her tag team partner is the one and only Harley Cameron. Now, she interrupted this because she's stuck in Mini Monet, and she was all like, oh my gosh, I've got a great name for this tag team. We weren't actually able to find out what that was, because Monet was like, you better shut up, you crazy loon. She walked off. The puppy then whispered something to Harley when she did reveal the name, and it is the Money Wrath Train. Now listen, ain't that bad, but I was expecting something way more crazy. I mean, you could have gone with Puppet Power 9000. Now, I've said that out loud. I think Harley Cameron's name was probably better. As always, she is just gold. We then jumped to our next match, and it was basically that tag team match before the men, because it was Will Ospreay teaming up with Kevin Knight, and they are going to go at it at the pay-per-view. They were taking on Lee Johnson and Blake Christian. In case you did miss the Saturday show as well, that's when we did get a deal to Kevin Knight, and so far, AEW has rolled him out brilliantly. Like, he did lose to Jay White, but then Jay White was like, oh my gosh, this guy is great. And here he was teaming with Will Ospreay, who is one of the most over baby faces in the company. He too was like, oh man, you're so great. So you're just telling the audience the information that they need. It's even more important because of course he will lose to William when that tournament does kick off. But in terms of a showcase, that Kevin Knight man, he is damn brilliant. And I'm pretty sure he's got springs at his feet. Eventually him and Ospreay too were able to hold off the bad guys as they did double dives, which makes all the sense in the world because it is 2025. And even though they then did cut off Kay for a little bit, eventually he got the hot tag to Will Ospreay. You know the deal with him. He runs a pretty good hot tag. Lee Johnson just continued to stop the babyfaces continually though, and this time it was worth it, because Christian took that to his advantage and he did that corkscrew dive. I tell you, that is pretty flipping good. Literally. He also got the 450 double stomp when Ospreay was back with the stun dog, which is when Knight got the hot tag. And honestly, you've got to see this drop kick. Lee Johnson and Blake Christian were stacked up on each other's shoulders, and Kevin Knight was still able to drop kick the top guy. And because of the momentum, they essentially hit a poison rana onto each other. Now, yes, that was absolutely redonkulous, but it looked brilliant. And sometimes that's all I care about. Will Ospreay then made sure to take out one guy, as it was Kevin Knight that did his springboard lariat to take out the other. He got the 1, 2, 3. I guess we can call that his first proper victory in AEW. They also did a quick promo after this saying, oh my gosh, we do have to fight each other in the Owen Hart Cup tournament. And even though they did shake hands, it was Knight that pulled Will in closely because he wanted a kiss. Not a kiss, shouldn't have said that. He was proving that I can take you, Will Ospreay, and I'm not scared. So again, massive round of applause. This has been totally the right thing to do. Kevin Knight is going to do all right if we keep this up. Mojo then cut a promo on behalf of the Ops saying we are going to be at the pay-per-view and someone is going to die when we got some big men slapping man meat. Lance Archer versus Brody King. Now this makes all the sense in the world because it is going to be Brody King versus Takeshita in the Owen Hart Cup. So this was the Don Callis family trying to wear down Brody, I suppose. But it does give me a little bit of fear in my tootsie toes because Brody King is probably going to lose to Takeshita, and we have to stop putting him in those kind of positions. He is so damn good, and eventually he does need to go on a run. Now look, this is complete speculation by me, so we do have to sit and wait. I hope I'm wrong. Otherwise, these two guys were great together. I mean, Lance threw Brody to the outside, so King came back and hit him with his crossbody into barricade, when eventually Archer had him back in the ring, and it was just splash, 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 splash. Like he'd gone to Disney World. Don Callis, of course, was getting involved too, because he's a massive dickhead, and this black hole slam that Lance Archer hit on Brody King, boy howdy do I like some big men slapping man meat. They got all the 1-2-oohs as choke slams came into play, and at one point Lance was yelling at the referee, which he shouldn't have done, because Brody was like, well, okay, if you're going to do that, I'm going to smash you with a cannonball. He also wanted a bomb of power, but Arch was like, no, I'm not going to go up for that thing, which meant they did kind of spin into each other when Brody King just took his head off with this Maris lariat, and he got the 1-2-3. I honestly could watch these guys fight forever, or the allocated time they do get on the show, and just keep giving me more of this. I'm so happy it has returned in modern day wrestling. For a good while we forgot about this, but big men are brilliant. It's a weird thing to say. When it was time for our main event, and it was building into our trios match at AEW Dynasty, it was Adam Copeland versus Claudio Castagnoli. Now Castagnoli did do what a lot of people had done on this show and just attacked Adam instantly when they too were on the outside using barricade. So I'm sorry, what the hell happened to the respect for Bears? He got totally wrecked. They then wrestled for a little bit, because it is wrestling, when Castagnoli bit his ear. So what the flub is going on, man? Especially because he followed with the Sagat uppercut. I don't think I've ever seen that combo before. The best one is when Copeland jumped to him at midair and he just wound him again, when I'm pretty sure Claudio tried to kill Adam using the top rope. I mean, he was essentially choking him. It was really flubbed up. Of course, Adam soon fought back, but then Castagnoli was sort of using the referee because he wanted some cheating time. And that worked because, boop, he poked Copeland right in the eye. It also led to the big swing, although when he went for the neutralizer, Adam was like, oh wait, no, I don't want to suffer that. And he turned it into the Impaler DDT instead. Wrestling. We then got some super cool back and forth stuff because they are so good, when eventually Claudio locked in the sharpshooter, but Cope got to the ropes, which is when he also went for the spear, but Claudio gave him another Sagat uppercut, and I tell you, Castagnoli must be the number one wrestler we do not talk about enough. Not the number one good wrestler, not just some random. I'm trying to tell you he's great. Eventually, Copeland did kick out of the neutralizer, and Castagnoli was so damn mad, he was just like, I'm gonna do a concerto. And the ref was like, I'm right here, dude, what are you doing? And when he cleared the debris, Adam Copeland decided, well, I'm gonna whack this guy right in the penis, and he did. He then got the spear, winner. So yes, that kind of ties into my point earlier. That was a sort of heelish thing to do, although I'm sure I'm reading into it. And listen, given that Adam Copeland did get the victory, he is definitely losing on Sunday. But that could be way more interesting. This was just a good old-fashioned fight, man. No notes. Of course, there was going to be more because Swerve Strickland had promised that he was going to murder John Moxley later. And this is when Renee found Swerve. She was like, oh, hi, have you done this yet? Strickland kind of mugged her off because, as he said, no offense, but I'm looking for your husband. When Hangman Adam Page appeared from nowhere, and of course, these two guys got into a massive yelling match as the Euston security guards held them back. It's just so damn funny though. It's like, oh man, you tried to kill my friend. Oh yeah, you tried to burn down my house. And at that point, Paige shouted out, well, you deserved it. Do you know what Swerve said? I know. Turning into flipping Han Solo. This was massive though, because of course a few weeks ago it looked like Hangman wanted to apologize to Swerve, but he wasn't able to bring himself to do it. And he was so emotionally moved here, he did walk off. So if you are going to make this the main event of All In, which we should do, this is the best way to justify them not having a crazy match, because maybe now their feud is built on respect. Honestly, it sounds crap me telling you about it. If you go and watch it, it only took about 30 seconds, but the performances were spot on. That was great. Turned out as well, the Death Riders are literally right here watching it, so it went really bad for Strickland, because they jumped him and they threw him into this glass-like structure, whatever you want to call it, and it most definitely wasn't a box. Why the hell is wrestling obsessed with glass? It got even worse too, because the Death Riders then dragged Swerve to the ring, and that's right, Wheeler Yuta got a bag. That was full of shards of glass too, and what did these absolute buffoons do? They threw Swerve Strickland into it. It was basically a powerbomb from Claudio Castagnoli, as Moxley was like, ha ha, our work is done. When they were walking away, Swerve Strickland turned into The Undertaker. He sat up and he basically laughed this off, and he sent the message, you can use glass, but it ain't enough to take out Swerve. So yes, it was slightly over the top, but Strickland is just the man. He always knows what's to do, and it made me go deep down in my tum-tummy. I can't wait for this main event, and I'm just gonna try and manifest it into existence. Swerve Strickland should be winning the AEW World Championship. It's just time. So I am going to give this an up too. I thought it was a great way to close the show, and it made it very clear what our main event was. I do have to say, maybe I have been a bit kind with the ups and downs counters, but it's because this episode of Dynamite wasn't one you had to go out of your way to see, but everything they set out to do, they got it right in the right way, which again is a little bit of a riddle, but it's true. It was a solid show. Getting it up. Now, of course, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Leave me a comment below and let me know how wrong I am. Otherwise, how am I going to learn? Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs on Monday Night Raw, to get all my opinions on wrestling. But otherwise, my friends, I love you. Thank you for your time. I will see you soon.